Deciding where you're gonna have your baby is probably one of the first decisions a lot of people start to think about when they find out they're pregnant. Even as a birth worker and a birth educator, I still found myself going over my pros and cons list, looking at different options in the area and trying to figure out what made the most sense for me and my family. Majority of people start to analyze different hospitals, some people will start to think about birth centers, and then the very few some people start to think about whether or not home birth is an option for them. In today's video, I am going to talk about the 5 reasons I decided to have a home birth and hire a midwife. If you have found yourself visiting my channel for the first time, my name is Carly and welcome. I am a labor and postpartum doula and I create content here all about labor and pregnancy and motherhood, postpartum, and pretty much everything that falls in between. And it is my passion to support, empower, and educate pregnant people so that they can have the natural birth experience that they desire. So number 1 is continuous care from the same provider. I hand selected and hired my midwife before I ever went into labor, and I knew the day I went into labor I was going to have her as my midwife. If you are having a hospital birth or a birth center birth, it's not guaranteed that you're going to have the person who sees you through all of your prenatal appointments be the person who is there on the day that you are in labor. I found a lot of security in building a relationship with my care provider and knowing, her personality, what her beliefs were around birth, and how she was going to support me. She got to know me. She got to understand my preferences and what I was looking for. We got to talk through really specific things about the day of labor that if I were delivering with a complete stranger, I would then have to kind of expel that energy in explaining my preferences to somebody who I hadn't met with before. Being able to reserve that energy for actually focusing on being in labor and, listening to my body and pushing the baby out, instead of having to focus that energy on something else, I was able to invest all of that energy into myself, which then in turn helps labor progress. It helps you feel more comfortable. It helps you be able to kind of like sink in a little bit more and just kind of surrender to what's going on instead of having to worry about explaining yourself to other people. You don't have to worry about people switching shifts. If at first you kind of start off with a nurse or a doctor or a midwife that, you're really like jiving with and you feel like they understand your preferences and they are supporting you really well, and then their shift ends and they have to go home and someone new is coming in and you kind of have to start all over, and you might not have that same kind of vibe with somebody new, or they might not be supporting you in the same way. And when you're in labor, like, you don't want to have to explain anything to anybody. They need to already know exactly what it is that your preferences are so that you don't have to invest any of your energy in anything outside of yourself except for focusing on your body. Not only that, but I was able to surround myself with people that I hand selected, people who knew my personality, people who I knew were going to encourage me, uplift me, knew exactly what I wanted, and who were just on the same page with me and what I wanted during my birth experience. Plus, there was no limit to the number of people that I could have in the room with me. If I wanted everybody in the same space as me, I could have them. Or if I wanted to be totally alone, they didn't have to be in there with me. Half of my labor I spent on the toilet by myself with the door shut because that's where I felt the most comfortable. And let me tell you, when I was able to do that, labor progressed. Now, that's not to say that I wouldn't be able to have privacy somewhere else, but there is definitely a sense of security and like actual privacy in your own home. And then when I was ready for other people to be around me, I called in the troops, everyone came in, and I had everyone that I needed there. I had my mom, I had my partner, I had my doula, I had my birth photographer, I had my birthing assistant, my midwife eventually was there, and it was just this team of people that I hand selected that I wanted, and they were all there for me, uplifting me, encouraging me, empowering me, and no one was draining any energy away from me and what I was focused on. Number 2 is lower rates of intervention. Being a person that wanted an unmedicated natural birth, I knew that being at home significantly lowered the rates of intervention that I could possibly experience than if I were to have a birthing center or a hospital birth. Now, this is something that you definitely want to check with whenever you are interviewing midwives, but for my midwife, she was very hands-off. So that meant no cervical checks, no looking to see how dilated I was. There was no push for any kind of like continuous fetal monitoring, no Pitocin, no IV, no needles, no epidural, nothing like that. And for me, I knew that every time you introduce even one intervention, it increases the likelihood that you're gonna have to have another intervention. Having a home birth significantly reduces the feeling of like stress or pressure that there might be unnecessary interventions while you're in labor. Number 3 is the freedom to make my own decisions. I recently uploaded a video about my home birth story and my experience as a first-time mom, and I mentioned there that it was really important to me to have a water birth, or at least the option to have a water birth if I wanted it. Locally, for me, there aren't any hospitals that allow you to deliver in the birthing tub. There are definitely hospitals that will let you labor in the tub, but they will not let you deliver the baby. There is one birthing center locally that will let you deliver in a tub. So those were the options that were kind of available to me. And so when I started to consider what I wanted, I knew that for me, pain management and when I'm uncomfortable or nauseous or anything like that, I always gravitate towards water. I get in the shower or I take a bath. That's just like my go-to. I absolutely love water for comfort measures. With that knowledge about myself, I assumed that I would probably want to labor in a birthing tub. I also knew that once I got into a birthing tub, I probably wasn't gonna wanna get out of it. So I wanted the option to have a water birth if that's what I decided to do the day that I was in labor. Being able to have the freedom to make that decision for myself, and not only just that decision, but the freedom to make other decisions as well, was really appealing to me about home birth. Knowing that I had absolutely no restrictions when it came to the movement that I wanted to do, the different positions that I wanted to get in, where I wanted to go in my house. I could be in my shower, I could be on my toilet, I could go outside if I wanted to. I spent a large majority laboring outside. I labored in my living room and watched TV. I labored in my own bed. I labored in my mom's bed. I was all over the place. And it was so comforting knowing that whatever my body told me to do, whatever I needed to do, if I needed to get on the yoga ball, down on the floor, holding the yoga ball, literally anything, I knew that I had the freedom to do whatever I needed to do. There were no restrictions on whether or not I could eat or drink anything. I don't understand there is evidence-based birth information about why eating during labor is beneficial to birthing people. It's like you're running a marathon. I mean, your body is going through something insane, and being able to fuel your body with the nutrients that it needs is so beneficial. So being able to eat and drink whenever I wanted to was so appealing to me, and being able to be like naked if I wanted to was also really appealing. There's something about like when I'm uncomfortable, and I know a lot of people when they're in labor are uncomfortable, stripping down is just the best feeling. Like there's something about it that makes you feel less nauseous and just more comfortable. So being able to do that in the comfort of my own home was just amazing. And then besides the actual like physical freedom, there was also this sense of financial freedom. We had really clear expectations for cost. We had a flat fee for both our midwife and our doula that we knew we were paying. There was no confusion about how much things were gonna cost. Hospital births are so expensive, and not knowing exactly what you're gonna pay whenever you walk into a hospital to deliver is really anxiety inducing. And so being able to prepare and plan financially was really beneficial to us as well. Number 4 is comfort and environment. There is something to be said for having your own bed, your own shower, my own toilet, my own dog, like everything in the house obviously is my own. And there is just this deep sense of comfort that I feel being in my own space. And when you have the ability to just really sink in and kind of surrender to what's going on because you are so comfortable, it makes labor move faster. When we are in a space that makes us feel safe, that makes us feel secure, it has a direct correlation to our labor progressing. If we feel unsafe, or if we are concerned about things going on around us, or really just giving any energy to trying to make ourselves feel more comfortable, it can impact how labor is progressing. Being able to completely focus all of my energy and just like completely surrender to what was going on in my body because I was so comfortable with my surroundings, I genuinely feel like that helped my labor progress progress so much more. I knew that everything was set up exactly how I wanted it, and there was no question about whether or not if I wanted to go into the shower, I could, or if I wanted to sit on the toilet, I could. If I wanted to go outside, I could. Everything was exactly as I wanted it to be, and that brought me so much comfort. And then on top of that, I knew that I wasn't gonna have to drive anywhere. I mean, I wasn't gonna have to drive to the hospital. I didn't have to like time it right so that I went to the hospital or the birthing center whenever I knew I was in active labor. I knew that I was in the place I was gonna have the baby, and that I could just like sink in and have him there. And then on top of that, I didn't have to go anywhere after I had the baby. I got to experience postpartum in the comfort of my own home, in my bed. My midwife came to me. I didn't have to pack up my newborn and drive him anywhere. Everything was right where I was. I didn't have to give any energy to anything except my body and my baby, and that was literally it. And the fifth reason is really just this concept of this being a life-altering and intimate experience. Being able to make this more of a ritual rather than sickness really meant something to me. Being able to slow down and just like really sink into what was happening, and holding space for the fact that we were bringing new life earthside and bringing this new person into the world, really above all else was one of the most important things to me. And when I look back on my birth experience, all I think about and all I can remember is just how empowered I felt. I have never gone through something that was so life-altering and something that literally transformed me for the better. And I can't say that that wouldn't have happened to me if I had chosen to give birth at a birthing center or at a hospital, but I do know that for me and my birth story, being able to set the scene from the jump by being at home and being in control and being in my power of being able to make those decisions myself really laid this foundation for me that I honestly think set me up to have the most empowered experience I could have possibly had. Now, that's not to say I just walked into it saying, well, I'm gonna be empowered and that's how this is gonna go. I walked into my birth knowing that I had my birth preferences set. I had a team of people established that I trusted and were on the same page with me about the care that I was looking for. I had equipped myself with all the tools that I possibly could have to have the best outcome that there could have been. And I knew at the end of the day that I was the decision maker, that I had a team of highly talented and very knowledgeable people surrounding me that could advise me on the things that I could do and give me information that I could use to decide what I wanted to do. But at the end of the day, every decision that was made that day was because I made it. And that is invaluable and something that every single birthing person should experience. If you are considering having a home birth, I am going to link so much useful information down below in the description that you can check out, and hopefully can help you kind of start to narrow down what your birth preferences are, what you're looking for in your birth, and just generally some next steps you can take. One thing you can do that will definitely help your birth experience is subscribe to this channel. This entire channel is dedicated to the birthing space, so I would love to have you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps me out more than you can understand. The more thumbs up this video gets, the more people will see it, and I would love to share as much as I can with as many people as possible. But that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!